Hi there friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria, otherwise known as Lone Wolf Knits, and this is my little podcast here where I talk about everything that I've been making, mostly knitting, sometimes spinning, and recently crochet. So hopefully that's something that you're interested in watching. It's been a bit of a while since my last update. I think we connected in January and it is now almost St. Patrick's Day. So there's been a lot going on and I'm excited to catch you up on what I've been working on. I'm coming to you from Washington State. It is kind of sunny here. I mean, I would call it sunny for Washington. We're almost in spring. Almost. It feels imminent, but it is not quite here yet. Yesterday I think it actually hailed. So we're in that season of spring in Washington State where it's like very touch and go. The cherry trees are trying to bloom, but it's still chilly and sweater weather. So that's been fun. I actually dug this piece out of my closet. I'll just jump into right away what I'm wearing and we'll get started because I do have a big episode today. But this is the Flores sweater. I will throw the link below and some b-roll of me wearing this. I actually finished this in like early 2024. It sat in my closet this whole time in a drawer, doing nothing for me. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add length. It's quite cropped right now, and I didn't know how it would fit in my wardrobe. I tend to have a problem with figuring out how to wear cropped sweaters with the closet that I currently have. I love this idea of like a long linen dress underneath, but in reality, I do not own any linen dresses that are like muted enough to go with the sweaters that I make for them. So I'm still on the hunt for something like that that'll work for all these crop sweaters that I've been making, because in my mind I want to wear them all the time and I have this idea of like what I want my outfits to be, but in reality I just like to throw on jeans sometimes and go with it. So today I threw it on under over a black tank and I am falling in love with it. I mean, it's a really beautiful yarn. I got this I believe it was hand dyed, and I got this in cabled knits and fiber, if I'm remembering correctly. It's a yarn store in on the peninsula of Washington State. So I live in Marysville, Washington, which is like part of the main state, and then there's like an arm of Washington that comes up and around the Puget Sound and kind of sticks out into the Pacific. So every year me and my boyfriend try to go to the peninsula because it's beautiful and it's amazing hiking. So we try to go out there once a year. It's been a couple years now since we've been out there, unfortunately, but when we were out there I saw this yarn and I just had to have it. And I think I only bought 3 skeins. So I was like, what am I going to make with this? So this pattern was great for that. It's got some subtle ribbing too. I don't know if you can really, I think it's a broken rib actually. Now that I'm up here, you can see it's got a I-cord bind off, which I wasn't really sure if I loved. You can see it's kind of flaring a little bit here, but I'm getting used to it. It sat for so long and I'm so glad to see it on me finally, and out in the world. So yay for wearing our finished makes. I want to get better about that this year. What's next? Should we go through finished objects? I think that's next step. So let me grab my first finished object. Since we last spoke, I talked about this in my last episode, but this is my Larkspur sweater by Wool and Pine Designs, and it is an absolutely gorgeous cable pattern. The back is just stockinette, so you do get some relief there, but these cables are so satisfying to make, and I had so much fun test knitting this for Wool and Pine Designs. I made the size 48, which gives me about 6 inches of ease. And of course I'm not wearing it right now, so you can't really tell how that looks, but it's a drop shoulder design. The original pattern calls for like kind of like a bishop sleeve, or maybe I'm not saying that right. It might be a bell sleeve, but more of like a relaxed sleeve with more fabric at the end, but I was running out of my yarn, so I chose to just do like a normal straight sleeve with some ribbing at the bottom. And this is Fidalgo yarns in the base Halo and the color Ice. It's a 2-ply fingering. It's a 50-50 mix of wool and alpaca, and I loved knitting this. The pattern is amazing. The shaping, it's not just a straight boxy drop shoulder, it's a very tailored drop shoulder. It's beautiful. I absolutely love the subtleness of this white too. It's not quite, it's a little crooked on the hanger there, but it's not quite a true white. It's almost in person, I think it is coming across on camera about how it shows up in real life. It's almost a gray, almost a really, really, really light gray. But it's got some vibrancy to it. It's not just a plain white, boring sweater. And yeah, I loved knitting this pattern. I probably will make it again because I just love these lines that it creates across the whole sweater. I love the neckline too. It's a I-cord neckline, but it's a boat neck, but not a boat neck. It's a little tighter than a boat neck, so I don't have that weird problem of like my bra strap showing when I'm wearing it. I do wear something underneath this only because you can probably see if I put my hand in here, maybe not, but it's just not as modest as I would like it. And I went down a needle size for everything in this pattern to get gauge, but it's still like slightly too showy for me to not want to wear anything underneath it. I do need a little something, which is actually turned out pretty good because I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but when I am knitting with alpaca, I'm like, oh, this is so soft. This is so like, I love the halo that it creates. I love the feel of knitting with alpaca. And then when I finish, I'm like, ooh, I put it on and I'm like, it's actually itchy like rustic wool. And it continues to surprise me to this day. I do have some things that I've made out of alpaca that don't make me itch, but this does have like a slight itchiness to it, which is really, really unfortunate because I wanted it to be like a lived-in sweatshirt feel. I wanted it to be super soft, and it does have the drape of something that would be super soft, and it is soft. I'm not saying it's like unbearable, but it just wasn't as soft as I expected it to be in the end. Which is why I want to make another one. I love the fit of this. I love the cables. I loved working on this. I want to make another one in a different color, maybe something more like tonal. And yeah, or I might over dye this eventually when I inevitably stain it because it is a white sweater and I am not someone that can handle white in my wardrobe. I might over dye it and turn it into a new beautiful color, something maybe green. But for now, she's white, she's beautiful. We love her. That is my only sweater finished object. And we will now head into boring sock mode. Actually, first, not boring sock mode. So, I talked to you a couple weeks ago, or months now. It's been a while. But I talked to you about a sample that I was knitting for Wool and Pine Designs. There's clearly a theme here. I'm in love with Wool and Pine right now. I love all their patterns, and I've been really good friends with them now for some time. And they have trusted me with sample knitting for them. So the first sample knit I did for them was a first like 1.0 version of their Ponderosa socks, which have since been modified. Like the pattern just kind of didn't flow as good as it does in the final version, when I was working on it and making their sample. So I will quickly show my finished sample for them. They actually just told me to keep it because they were going to modify the pattern, and so it never really saw the light of day, but I think they deserve the light of day for their amazing colors. And I'm just realizing now that they have so much dog hair on them because I have worn them a lot. They're very comfortable and I really enjoyed making them. But here you go. Beautiful cables. I knit this in the Plucky Knitter Plucky Feet base, and the colorway is Fiona, which I don't think they make regularly anymore. I at least haven't seen it on their site. This is just such a beautiful green. It really just like glows. I don't know if it's coming across on camera very well. It seems like the daylight is actually doing good things for this yarn, but yeah, that cable pattern is just beautiful. So in this version, the foot is very different, but the main pattern is the same, and I was very happy to have made this for them. It flew off my needles once I got going with it, and it was very fun. I'm really happy that they're making sock patterns, and I hope that they continue to make more, because bringing their design expertise and basically making sock versions of their sweaters is like, I can't think of anything more fun and amazing and things that I would want to knit, because obviously I love socks. So this was the first version of the Ponderosa socks by Wool and Pine Designs, and they live with me now. They're not linked on Ravelry as being the Ponderosa socks because I didn't want to confuse anyone with like the way that the foot looks on these. So they are just like a floating pattern in Ravelry in my projects as a sample knit that I've made. So love these, obviously wear them. They are so fun. And of course, after I made these, I immediately wanted to knit another pair. And so I signed up for their test knit for this. So hopefully they're not sick of me making socks for them. But these are the real Ponderosa socks, and I absolutely love how these came out. This is the Botanical Yarn Neon Tweed. I don't remember the color name I think it was just called Neon Tweed. I got it at Flock, and I have been saving it for something amazing. And I just love how it came out with this stitch pattern. I love how it interacts with the cables, but it's not like a variegated yarn. It's not taking away from the cables, but man, does it just look so cool. I'm trying to hide my face so that the camera can focus here. I mean, just look at all those little tweedy bits. And they are true neon. Like they are really bright. I don't know if the camera is showing that as well as it is in person, but they are super bright. And yeah, so I finished these. I also love about these socks that they have a little bit of a separation between the cables and the toe. So there is like a round of vertical knitting. Let's try to get my face out of there. Vertical knitting that you do at the end here, or horizontal knitting. Either way, different kind of knitting that you do across the top here. And it does create like a little separation between the pattern and the toe. And I love that. What else can I say about these socks? The fit, it's Wool and Pine. It's gonna fit amazing. The careful consideration that they take into each and every pattern design and paying attention to their knitters and their testers when they're going through this process of vetting their patterns, I just think is so important for every kind of body. And they do listen to feedback. That's why, again, I really like testing for them and working with them, because they want to learn. They want to know, how's it fitting? How's it feeling? What would you change? So I really like that and appreciate that as a knitter and as a tester. So yeah, Ponderosa socks. And if you don't know much about Wool and Pine Designs, they do have a Ponderosa sweater that goes with this theme, same cable, just in a sweater. So that might be next. I might need to make a matching sweater. I don't know. What do you think? Like, I don't know if this color would wash me out as a sweater, but maybe in a different base color with still the neon tweed. Could be good. Could be cool. And okay, now we're getting a little bit into the boring parts. If you have been with me for a while, you know I love the DRK everyday socks. That's my go-to sock pattern. I pretty much always have that on my needles. And it is true. It is true right now. So my first ones that I'll talk about are the DRK Everyday Socks. This is the Premier Yarns Cotton Collage color, or yarn rather. This is a budget yarn that my friend and I were actually talking about. Well, I told her about it because she was looking for some budget sock yarn that wasn't Paton's Croy socks. And I told her that I've been really loving this Premier Yarns. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby, maybe. And it was like $4 for a little skein of it. And I was able to eke out this full pair of socks with one skein, and I still had some left over. So if you are making the shorty version of the DRK Everyday Socks, which I tend to make probably the most often because I love it, this would be perfect. You only need to pick up one ball for the small size. I have a 6.5 US women's shoe size, so kind of small feet, and it enables me to eke out a pair of socks with one skein. But even if it was two, I mean, that's really not a bad price. It's a cotton yarn, so they're perfect for summer. That's actually why I made them. I made a pair a couple years ago and they're still going strong. I haven't needed to mend them at all, and I wear them probably the most frequently, especially on longer distances and hikes because of the cotton content. So yeah, they're just, I like the feel of cotton when I'm hiking, and it has been a true workhorse yarn, so I'm happy with them. And I love the colors here. I'm sure you've kind of been able to see that. If you're sensing a theme here, I love blue and orange together, especially in yarn. And I didn't really realize this until I'm showing it now, but I actually ended up with quite an even between the pair here, quite an even color distribution. I was not planning that. I don't really care about that. My other ones that I've made do not match up with the colors, and it's fine. They're more like a sand brownish color with some salmon throughout. So I think this is just called like blue multi or sea multi or something. So yeah, I would definitely buy more of this yarn if it came in more colors. I think it's just 3 colors right now, and the third one not really for me. So Premier Yarns, if you're listening, I really like this yarn and I want it in different colors for socks. So get on that. Thanks. So yeah, these were great. These were on and off my needles pretty quickly. I just chugged them out. It was great. Can't wait to wear these, especially with spring and summer coming up. Yeah, they're fun. And of course, because I just couldn't knit only one pair, I made another pair out of the Explorer knits. I don't know if it was actually a sock set, but my friend Selena put together some sock sets for me as like my own little sock subscription, and I love it so much. So I think that both of these are from Explorer knits, and I don't remember the color name, or if it had a color name. It probably did, but it'll be on my Ravelry. And same thing, usually for the cuff on these I do 17 rows before I bind off, and I just do a regular bind off in pattern, so nothing fancy. It's just a basic sock, but these are very, very soft. It's my first time working with Explorer knits, and I love her colorway. I mean, obviously this is just absolutely stunning. I love these colors. but they're also really soft. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these wear. We shall see. Last, I wouldn't say it's a finished object, but it's finished enough to show. You can hear my dog in the background, sorry. My friend Selena taught me how to crochet, and it has changed my life. I am now working on my second blanket. This is the first one I made. So this is just a simple granny square blanket, made from all of my scrap yarns. So this is just one little section. I'll show you the other side. And I don't think I can even get far enough away to like show you the true length and enormity of this blanket, but you'll just have to believe me when I tell you that every single row was such an adventure. I have mohair in here. I have tons of sock scraps that I just didn't know what to do with. I just kind of stuck with a color scheme and like went with it. So it's all blues and greens and very, very little sparks of orange or red. Here's one kind of section of that. Not red, sorry. Orange and yellow. There's also hand spun in here. So this orange section actually is some of my hand spun. And there's other hand spun throughout this, but yeah, I'm in love with it. It's obviously it's just a huge granny square. So I worked it from the middle here all the way out to the edges, and I still have to do some sort of border on this, but for now it's just sitting until I do like maybe a couple more rows of my scraps. I'm getting to the point now where the scraps basically have to be like a pair of socks, shorty socks that I've knit, and then do a row, and it's pretty much done. Because crochet, as I have found out, really, really, really eats yarn, which is a good and a bad thing. It does significantly reduce your stash if you're trying to stash bust. But for me, in this blanket, I really wanted the full color to go all the way around the granny square. So I tried to use the scraps that I had very little of. Like this was the Ponderosa sock leftovers that I had. I tried to use the ones that I had very little left in the beginning. And as I found out, I used more full skeins. And I did have one skein that my friend Sarah got me for Christmas. And I've done that color. I'm trying to show my face here so it can focus. But this color right here, that is one of the ones that I've repeated all through this blanket, and I feel like it unites it. You know, there's a lot of different colors happening, different shades of colors in this blanket, but the repetition of that like kind of turquoisey light blue helps keep it cohesive, if that makes sense. And I could have taken this in a bunch of different directions. I could have gone more purple with it. I could have leaned into more like lime greens and like warm greens, but I tried to keep it pretty, I don't know, just neutral-ish. Does that make sense? There's definitely some colors in here that are like super bright. This is hedgehog fibers. But I tried to keep those to a minimum so that from far away it kind of reads still like just a bluish green blanket. These are all my favorite colors of like blue and green, obviously, because I've knit with them. And what else? What was really great, in addition to like learning a new skill like crochet, was finding a use for my hand spun that didn't turn out like I envisioned. So very early on, I learned the hard way that you should double check your machine if something doesn't feel right. And especially if you're applying and the plies just aren't jiving. So I ended up using a whole skein, well, 2 braids of yarn that I had spun as singles, but I spun one in S spin, and I spun one in Z spin, which is the opposite. So when I tried to ply them together, and I did this completely unknowingly, I must have pushed a button when I was plying, and then moved on to the second single and didn't realize it was still in S mode when I was plying. But I ended up with a skein that kind of like resisted, like the yarn resisted being spun together into applied yarn because they were spun opposite and they didn't want to come together. So hopefully that's making sense. But it ended up turning into a very weak yarn that I couldn't really use in a project because it had lots of texture and bumps, and it wasn't nice to knit with because it was very splitty. So when I wanted to work on this blanket, I was like, ooh, I wonder if crochet will help with some of that that yarn. And I think actually this is the last color that I did here, so you can kind of see maybe a little bit of what I'm talking about here with like the way that this yarn kind of just resists being a yarn. But as I was working with it in crochet, it kind of strengthened it, I guess, because when you're knitting, I don't know, something about the way that you're knitting versus crocheting, it affects the yarn differently. And I didn't think it would have such a big impact, but it did. And I was able to use the full skein pretty much of this, like what I thought was garbage yarn and was pretty much just gonna make into a really expensive dryer ball into something usable and wearable. Not wearable, I'm not gonna wear this blanket, but useful and beautiful, because I still wanted to celebrate the color and the fact that I spun that. It was a beautiful braid, and I can always get more, but you know, why waste it? So I thought that was awesome about crochet, and I'm obsessed. Excuse me. So like I said, this is my first one. I'm now working on like a super chunky one to get rid of some of my acrylic bulky yarns that I don't really use. So I'll show you that one next time, but I'm so happy with how this is turning out. All right, last but not least, I have 2 skeins of finished spinning to show you. I am really happy to be a part of the Long Dog Yarn Fiber Club for their Heirloom Tomato series. So I'll show you the first skein first. This was Cherokee Purple inspired. They're all obviously, or maybe not obviously, so I'm not explaining it very well, but they were all inspired by Heirloom Tomato colors. And so I believe she's come out with a fiber version, like a braid version that she'll release, and a yarn, but they look significantly different in my opinion. So I'm trying to spin, and so I get a new one every month. It's a yarn club, or a spin club, I guess. And I've been trying to spin it every month. It's like my, you know, random surprise project. I don't get to know what the color is before it ships, and I just open it and I'm surprised and I'm like, yes, let's spin it. So I want to spin these all the same exact way because I do want to make something with them all at the end. It's kind of like an advent project. But obviously I have way more yarn than an advent project would take, but maybe some sort of crochet blanket or shawl of some kind, because I am really obsessed with crochet right now. And I think these yarns would look great in crochet. But anyway, so this first one was January's, and it is inspired by the Cherokee Purple tomatoes. And it has obviously like some purple in here, but also some pinks and some like muted purples and some very light shades of those colors. So this is a 2-ply. Spun on my wheel. I love how it turned out. Was very happy with this spin. I think I got the perfect consistency of like not too tight, not too loose in the plying. That's been kind of an issue for me. Like I'm trying to work that in a way that feels like yarn I want to knit with. So don't overspin it, but don't underspin it. And underspinning has frequently been my issue in the past. So I feel like I got the balance right with this one. I'm really enjoying how consistent this is and how tightly this is spun. There's no spots in here that are really like a little too loose. So I really enjoy how that came out, and I can't wait to use it. And then February's was, let me just make sure, that's the Cherokee Purple Beauty Queen. So again, another kind of heirloom tomato, but this one's much more tomato-y. Lots of muted yellows and creamy sherbet-y oranges, which is actually something that I don't have a lot in my stash. Like I said, I really love blues, greens, cool colors, but I am probably a warm autumn if I had to. Got cut off there by Siri trying to tell me to leave for knit night, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But yeah, anyway, this was the, oh my gosh, why do I keep forgetting? Beauty Queen version of the Long Dog Yarns Fiber Club of the month for their heirloom base. And by the way, all of these are the same base. It's a Shanico wool blend, which is my favorite combo right now. I absolutely love, it's like, it's 80% Shanico, 20% mulberry silk. And that just glides off of the spinning wheel. It wants to be spun and it wants to drape beautifully. And I'm so excited for more months of this beautiful fiber. Super squishy. I can't wait to knit with it too, or crochet, whatever. It's going to turn into something beautiful. I'm looking at and just got the March braid, and I cannot wait to start that one. So that's it in terms of everything that I have been working on. I have finished, I guess. Because there were so many things to talk about, I didn't want to go crazy into all my whips. I also have been very determined to finish my whip wall, which is off to the side there. You can't really see it, but it is full of whips that I need to just finish. And it's not because I think everyone is entitled to their journey as a maker, and if you like having a lot of whips, that's great. I do. I like having a lot of whips, but this, even for me, is a little much, and I want to start finishing some stuff. I want to take back some of those needles that are just stuck in these project bags, and I want to finish what I have started. So I'm falling back in love with all of my whips. I just recently started working on my nebula sweater again, because it's like this beautiful green springy color, and I was like, yeah, it's time to dig that one out. It's been since like August of last year that I'm working on that, and I just got distracted by other things, so I'm trying to slow down on the test knitting. I have been doing some sample knitting that I can't show you yet, but besides that, obviously that's like helping to pay some of my bills right now. Besides that, I want to get back into all of my whips, so that'll be my focus for 2025, is really trying to get down that whip number. There will be new cast-ons, there will be new cast-ons, many, I'm sure, because I have like squirrel brain about new patterns and bees in my bonnets that I get about trying new things or wanting to immediately cast on something that I see someone else make. So that will still continue to happen. But my goal is every time we meet that I will show you something that I've hopefully finished from my whip pile, my whip mountain, really. So yeah, that's what the future plans are. I will next time kind of go into a little bit more detail about everything that I've been planning and goal setting for 2025. At the end of the day, it's just make a bunch of stuff and be happy. That's really what it boils down to. So yeah, hopefully you had some fun with me going through some of my recent finished objects, and hopefully I will see you next time. I am still planning to do some sort of like everything I've made in 2024. It's just a little overwhelming to me, to be honest. I finished 56 projects in 2024, which for me even is a record. And a lot of those were not small projects. We're not talking a ton of socks, although it was probably like 20 something socks. Over a dozen actually, probably. So I'm like trying to chop that up into pieces that don't feel so overwhelming to me to talk about, especially the sweater stack. I don't know why, but it's just overwhelming me. And so I will start to like sprinkle into some of these episodes like my year of 2024 for all these different things that I've made, because I do want them to see the light of day. Some of them were from before I started my YouTube channel, and some of them I just like haven't shown even to Instagram. So I wanted to go through those and chat about all of those, but I'm going to do it in pieces so it's not an extremely long episode. And with that, let's not make this one an extremely long episode and just end it right there. So I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me for this episode 8. And I will see you next time. Hope you have a great day and are enjoying the spring weather. Bye.